Here is your rewritten version with all numbers removed, keeping the same meaning, structure, and approximately the same word count in natural English. She said, "Try not to embarrass me. These people are way above your level." I didn't answer, but when the host shook my hand and said, "Finally, we've been waiting to meet you," her face lost all color instantly. All right, read it. This happened a couple of months ago, and I'm still sorting through the chaos that followed. My girlfriend believed she was bringing her boring blue-collar boyfriend to impress her high-status friends. Turns out she had absolutely no idea who she was actually dating. Buckle up, because this unraveled fast. I'm a restoration specialist in my early 30s. I repair historic buildings, century-old houses, old churches, landmark properties that require someone trained in traditional construction methods. It's not glamorous. I show up covered in plaster dust, spend my days dealing with contractors and preservation boards, and most people assume I'm just another construction worker. I'm fine with that. I've never felt the need to brag about what I do or who I work for. The work speaks for itself, and the clients who matter know my reputation. I've been doing this for well over a decade. I started as an apprentice right after high school when I realized sitting in a classroom wasn't for me. My mentor, Vincent, had spent decades restoring historic buildings across the Southwest. He could study a wall and tell you when it was built, what materials were used, and exactly how to repair it without destroying its integrity. He taught me traditional plasterwork, timber framing, and stone masonry. Several years ago, Vincent retired and sold me the business for almost nothing. He said he'd rather see his life's work continue than sell it to some corporate renovation company that would turn it into a generic operation. I rebranded as Heritage Restoration Solutions and began taking on larger projects. The money is solid if you know what you're doing. Historic preservation isn't cheap, and the people who own these properties usually have deep pockets. I've restored mansions for tech millionaires, renovated boutique inns for hospitality groups, and worked on museum buildings for preservation foundations. Recently, I cleared close to $200,000 after expenses. But I don't advertise that. I don't post my projects online or name-drop clients. I drive an old Ford pickup covered in job site dust. I wear work pants most days and live in a modest house I bought cheap and renovated myself. To most people, I probably look average. My girlfriend, Natalie, and I had been together for over a year. We met at a coffee shop near one of my job sites. She ran a new interior design business, mostly staging homes for realtors. She was polished, stylish, drove a leased luxury sedan, and lived in a trendy downtown apartment. She had that aspirational lifestyle image. For the first year, things were decent. She'd complain that I worked too much or came home dusty. She hinted that I should upgrade my truck or invest more in my appearance. I ignored it. Looking back, there were warning signs: how she introduced me as my boyfriend who works in construction with an apologetic tone, how she suggested I change clothes before meeting her colleagues, how she seemed uninterested in my projects unless important people were involved. She constantly talked about image, perception, networking, and building wealth while juggling credit card debt to maintain appearances. I paid my bills, saved my money, and focused on quality work. I didn't need validation. A few weeks before everything exploded, Natalie came over thrilled. She'd been invited to an exclusive charity gala hosted by Victoria Ashford, a wealthy estate owner connected to serious old money circles. "This is huge for my business," she said. "If I impress her, doors will open." She asked if I'd attend as her guest, but the way she asked felt like she was granting me permission. I agreed. For weeks, she made subtle comments: get a haircut, maybe rent a nicer suit, remember these people are above our level. Well, my level eventually, she corrected once. I didn't rent a suit. I already owned a custom-tailored one from a preservation awards dinner. I'd attended plenty of formal events. I just let her assume otherwise. The night of the gala, she picked me up. When I opened the door dressed properly, she looked genuinely surprised. We drove to the Ashford estate. On the way, she delivered the line that started it all. "Just try not to embarrass me. These people are way above your level." What she didn't know was that I had been working on that estate for months. Victoria had hired me to restore the ballroom plaster, repair the stone font, and renovate the carriage house. It was a major project. We had developed a solid professional relationship. She respected my knowledge and craftsmanship. I had mentioned the project to Natalie once. She responded with "that's nice," and changed the subject. We arrived. The ballroom I restored gleamed beneath crystal chandeliers. Influential guests filled the room, people I had worked with before. Then I saw Victoria approaching. She walked straight past Natalie and warmly took my hands. "Joel, finally. We've been waiting to introduce you to everyone." Natalie's face drained of color. Victoria praised my restoration work in detail and introduced me to prominent guests. I was quickly absorbed into conversations about future projects. This was my world, one Natalie had never cared to understand. Later, Natalie confronted me outside, furious. She accused me of humiliating her by not telling her I was important. I reminded her I had never hidden anything. She simply never asked. The relationship ended shortly after. She tried to spin the story to mutual friends, but the truth was simple. Victoria continued recommending me. One introduction led to another substantial contract. Months later, at a smaller dinner hosted by Victoria, I met Sophie, a landscape architect. We had briefly crossed paths on a previous project. She understood restoration work. She respected craftsmanship. She drove a muddy practical car and ran her own business. No ego, no posturing. That coffee turned into something steady and real. Since the gala disaster, the estate restoration has been completed beautifully. My business continues to grow through skill and reputation, not image management. I later heard that Natalie's designer lifestyle caught up to her. Debt piled up. The finance boyfriend left. Her business struggled under the weight of appearances. I didn't feel vindicated, just reflective. Because the right people don't care about your truck, your clothes, or your title. They care about competence, integrity, and substance. Natalie wanted someone impressive. Sophie appreciates someone genuine. And I'll choose genuine every time.